pray for me now to do this presentation. Amen. Let me just say something. I'm going to tell y'all, she talked about me this week. I ain't even going to tell you what she said. I'm going to talk about you. Yeah, you call me superficial. Let me just tell you. Let me tell you what happened. I'm going to tell y'all, but I had a couple of things. You know, the enemy tried to attack. Thursday night, you know, my front teeth broke out. And I was going to cancel my meeting with her. Because she said, Pastor Love, I know you ain't that superficial. You worry about your teeth. I was like, I ain't superficial, but I want to see my mouth. But I thank God for her. Also want to God. Anyway.
Thank you. He's so funny. I love it. So if you all want to, I'm actually giving away a few free things for you all, being so kind to stay to the end to hear me out. So I'm giving away a free ebook which teaches you how to apply for business credit. I'm also giving you guys a free template for a business plan as well as financial projections, all things that's needed to help your business look nice and healthy. And so this here is going to go around, and under this are my flyers. So in case you do have to leave, at least you'll have some information about me and be able to get in contact with me after this. So Pastor Glover is so funny. You know, I just believe in just be who you are and everything else will fall into place. So yes, I did call him superficial, but at least I said it to his face, right? All right. So again, thank you all very, very much for being here today and being patient with me. I'm in a business training class that will help our church catapult to the next level. So it was not in vain. I'm taking one for the team. So I literally just drove from Atlanta to come down here to be with you all. So thank y'all again for being patient. For those who don't know me, I'm Jessica Lewis. My company's name is Real Solutions for Real People. I'm a business consultant. So anything from start to finish, I literally help you with. So something as simple as coming up from idea to conception, getting it down on paper, which is your business plan, and also at some point in time, if you need me, operations management. So if you need to kind of make sure you're doing everything the right way, I help with that. And then at the very end, when you're ready to blow your business up, you get funding, you get money from me. I help you find whatever money is needed for your business in order, oh, look at that. Look at her. And so I get you money for your business so that you're able to not only just get your business up and running, but also grow it when it's time for it, okay? So today what we'll talk about is two things. So one, how to start a business, and then I'll briefly talk about how to get funding at a very high level, only because too much information would just make your brain shut down. So I try not to do that, okay? And so again, after this, you are entitled to all your free things. Just please make sure you put your name and email address. That's my primary way to converse with people, because phone numbers change, but usually emails don't. And even outside of that, I will please ask of you all to write a review for me. Let me know how you thought about my presentation today, and I will greatly appreciate that, because you all, you know, your feedback is important to me. So I'll get started, but before I get started, does anyone have any specific questions about maybe starting a business or how to grow your business, expand your business, anything in between? Okay, I'll start with you.
I have a question about trying to get your business out there on social media.
Okay, and you had a question too?
Well, I said I was going to talk to you because I'm interested in starting my own businesses. It's been a passion of mine to take care of people. So, and in my community, you know, it's all about money and, you know, not doing what they're supposed to do as far as being legal and really taking care. I care about people, so I want to start a home, and I want to be a caregiver. So I need to get with you about, you know, because that's really what I do.
Excellent. And so while my presentation will not be specific to your industry, I'll make sure I answer your question, and I will talk about marketing in this presentation. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, yes, my business is like making t-shirts.
Okay, absolutely. They look great, girl.
Thank
And so I'll talk about that, each of what you all asked about within the presentation. So to start, are there any business owners already in the room? Okay, we have a few entrepreneurs. Anybody want to start a business? Oh, that's everybody else. right in my spirit. Okay. And so let's start with the basic foundation. So my perspective today is coming from a funding perspective. As Pastor Glover told you, I'm a funding person. So when you're looking to get money, if your business is not set up the right way, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to help you. And so what I do is, with entrepreneurs, I literally sit down with you and kind of educate you on what's needed. And by educating you on what's needed, I make sure you're prepared to get funding before you try to apply for funding. So whether that's credit cards, vendor credit, and everything in between, okay? So to start, the very basics, and the information I'm sharing is the same information no matter what state you live in. So I'll try not to make it so specific to Georgia. So just in case you all may be in passing or may want to share this information, you can. The very first thing is you have to figure out what name you want, okay? First things first, right? So if you all don't know what name you want, that's the main thing that you guys are going to have to focus on. And so the reason why that's important is you have to have a name of your business, right? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to go to the next step. So some people say, well, maybe, why don't I have to have a business plan? Business plans aren't always as important as having, of course, your name, because without your name, you cannot register, you can't do anything else. But business plan is something that you can do later down the line at any given time throughout your business season. So with that being said, your name is important because of a number of different reasons. One, when you're looking to scale your business, meaning grow, at some point in time, you want to make sure that the name that you choose is going to reflect your future. So I cannot have a business called Jessica Lewis Enterprises, one, because not only does it look a little selfish, I'm just being honest, but the other side to it too is when you're looking to get funding, you don't want to look like you're the only person working for your business. And so when you're as great and lovely as that sounds, and you work all hard to come up with that name, you're going to have to do something that's a little bit more neutral, that doesn't immediately tell a funding company or a bank or what have you, investor, immediately out the bat that you are a one-person show. You always want to look like you're bigger than what you are, right? None of their business. You keep that to yourself. So with that being said, some names that you could have could be maybe, let's say, a good one. My company is Real Solutions for Real People. Let's go with what we already have, right? Real Solutions for Real People sounds like a consulting firm, and that's exactly what I do. So when you're looking at names for your company, focus on that specifically. How can I tell somebody within the title of my company what I do? Now, that's not always necessary, but what is important is you don't want to have to over-explain your service or product. A lot of times we do way too much talking to explain what we do. My mentor, who I just came from for that particular class, he asked me, he said, well, Jessica, what does that have to do with funding? So I had to do rebranding where I separated my companies, and I had a whole separate company. So now my funding company is called Fundyo. Literally, I just rebranded again today because he yelled at me, right? Fundyo, and that will, you can hear the fund, so I fund companies, and the yo is like, yo, you know, we have to have a little fun. I know it's kind of corny, but whatever. And so the point behind it is the name identifies immediately in what I do. So moving from the name, the next thing you would need to do is gather your articles of incorporation. So all states have a Secretary of State site where you all can go to. Fees vary. Here in Georgia, I think it's anywhere from $200 to maybe $300, depending on what type of organization you decide to actually register. And so what I want to educate y'all on this particular point is the type of entity that you all want to start. Never do sole proprietor. Why? Because companies will know that. It's not very hard for them to identify the databases for the EIN service to find out what kind of company you are. Another one I do not suggest people start is a LLC. And so a lot of people do LLCs because they think that protects them from getting sued, from people taking your assets, things that you worked hard for. And while that may be true to a certain extent, they can still find you, unfortunately. So when you have an LLC, that's the full name of that is limited liability company. And while you think that it's not gonna, folks can't find you, they can look you up and they're gonna get you. I know that sounds crazy, contrary probably to what a lot of folks may have taught you, but that's not exactly how they work. So then you said, well, if not an LLC, or if I can't be a sole proprietor, then what? I always encourage people to be a corporation. So again, usually the cost is not far off from an LLC, and what that does is that's the true protection from people taking your personal assets and the things that you work hard for. So you probably say, well, I've heard there's different kinds of corporations. Yes, there are. And the easiest one for most people to kind of begin with is a C corporation. That's called closed corporation. Closed, nothing spectacular other than it's just called C corporation. There's no special meaning behind it or anything in between. But the reason why that's important is that removes a lot of the taxation that someone that has an LLC has. Someone with an LLC pays more in taxes than someone with a corporation. So if nothing else and you don't remember anything else, the reason why you want to get a corporation so you can save a little bit of money. So let's talk about what's going on now with the economy. Briefly, we're going to just bring to, if you don't know, if you don't have a business, the new tax laws, I know y'all don't like Trump, but I love them. You want to know why? Because I'm a business owner. And if you're not a business owner, you're going to be in trouble because they're going to tax you 20% more just because you have a 9-to-5 alone. And so you probably say, well, I still don't like Trump. You don't have to like Trump, but Trump will give you some really great benefits if you have a business. So what I encourage you all to do is, if nothing else, start a business just so that you can remove some of that tax liability that you're going to get just because you have a 9-to-5. Okay, so I don't care how small the business is. She has a t-shirt business. You can start buying stuff and reselling it on eBay and Amazon. You may want to have a little yard sale situation where you just sell stuff you already have. So you can get as creative. What'd you say? Oh my goodness, that's right. You can become a life coach. And let me say this. And this really is not a true plug, but let me say this. When Pastor Glover and I sat down this week with Brother Joshua, I'm not sure where he went, but when we sat down with him this week, what I want folks to realize, being a life coach is probably one of the better things you can do. It's nothing better than sharing what you know with other people. Because when you die, you can't take that with you. And so if nothing else, being a life coach is very, I want to say this is probably one of the better things you can do. So this young lady here, you're so funny. Oh, I'm not really a people person. And then you get up here and you spoke so gracefully. Oh my goodness. I was so impressed. I said, that's interesting. Because most people who aren't really people, they, you know, it's really hard for them to get up and have public speaking. So I am proud of you for doing that. So that was one step in the right direction. Okay? And I also heard from Pastor Lamar that I missed all kind of great things today, but I'm just glad that we're all on the same team to be able to carry forth God's mission. Okay? And all of it is through this ministry of life coaching. So I'm glad y'all are all a part of that. I'll get out here, Joshua. And so with that being said, let's move on. So yeah, I still like Trump only because he's going to give me a lot of business benefits. Other than that, you know, we can just leave him in the White House. And so, no judging, I'll just say that out loud. And so with that, when you're starting your business, let's get to that. Secretary of State, you pay your fees. Make sure you do a name search before you start the Secretary of State. And the reason being is, man, Georgia is rough. Georgia will beat you down. You come up with all these clever names and they will shut you down and tell you, nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. So do a name search, save your time and energy. Don't go ahead and just start filing, because what you don't know is every time you get rejected in the state of Georgia, unfortunately, it takes another 10 days for them to reprocess your application. So that can prolong you and your ability to officially be in business, okay? So try your best, do a name search. I don't know if it costs anything. I want to say it may be $25, but there's another way to get around it too. Just Google your name. Go ahead. name you want, put Georgia, whatever city you're in, and see if somebody else has your business name. Don't go pay the Secretary of State. Them folks, they just want y'all money. So don't do it. And I know because I just went through it recently. So when I did my branding for my funding company, it took almost a month and a half. So each time it's almost 10 days. So that's why I encourage you to do a little research before you do that. So once you register with the Secretary of State, next thing is your foundational work. And so what I mean by foundational, a lot of folks, they use their cell phone, they don't have an office, they may not have a website, they may not have a Facebook page, they may not have all these little things, but the reason why I encourage people to get it right the first time is because you don't have to worry about that later. The worst thing you can do is go for funding and they tell you because they could not find your website is why they cannot give you any money. And now you're in a desperate situation oftentimes with a lot of my people is like that, and now you're set back however many steps. And so I never encourage anybody to do that. So if you get your Secretary of State, go ahead on and get your free EIN. EINs do not cost anything. Do not let nobody tell you they cost anything. It is free. Go there, get your EIN. Now you got those two things. Excuse me. Depending on what city you're in, you may have to get a business license. So if your industry requires you to do that, then go ahead and do that. And then what we have in Macon is we have something called co-working space. So what's neat about co-working space when you don't have an actual physical office, co-working space allows you to have the look of a in-person brick and mortar business, but really you can use it as much as you want, but you may not have a physical office. So what I mean by that is you may not, let's say this here is the setup of the co-working space. These pews in the middle are designed for anybody to use. So you can come and go as you please. You'll get mail there. You can use their printing services, their internet and all that stuff. But you may not have a private section where that door will be behind there where you had your own office. But you can come in and meet people, network, and do all that. And that will allow for you to kind of get around having that business address. And the cost for that is about $100 a month, and that's one company, and the other company is $150. So it just depends on what your budget is, but don't go straight out and spend hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars a month just to have a physical location just because you feel like that's what you need. Now let me say this, once you become a business owner, you have arrived. So you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You don't have to do nothing extra to make it seem like you're more than what you are other than your name, because your name does make a difference to a bank, but you don't have to prove anything. So don't go out spending a bunch of money on things like a bunch of business cards, a bunch of flyers, and anything like that. That's not necessary. Your focus needs to be on growing your business. So that's the gist of what you have to do to start a business. Get your name, then go to Secretary of State. From the Secretary of State, get your EIN. From your EIN, if it's necessary for you to get a business license, go ahead and do that. From your business license, go ahead and try to find a physical location. Now, if you're in Macon, I do know you can use your home address, but I just don't recommend you use your home address anyway, because again, when it comes to funding later, if that's what they see, they're going to think you're small. Remember, always think big. Even with your goals and dreams for your business, don't think small. Don't say, I only want to be in Hancock County. No, you want to be in Georgia. And if that's the best you can do is Georgia, go beyond Georgia. You want to be in the whole country if you can be, okay? And so that's what I encourage you all to do. So that's just the basic foundation. So also make sure you try to get an 800 number. There's plenty of sites out there for that. Let me say this. It take a little bit of money to make a little bit of money, y'all. So these things, I'm telling you, only thing that was really free was the EIN, but these are things to help you get your business up and running the right way. You also need a business email address and website if possible. Now websites, you can learn how to do that on your own. They got sites like Wix.com, W-I-X, and you can find a local college student who maybe need a little intern to do. It's so many ways for you to not have to pay for a website to be built, but that is one of your options. Even outside of that, if you can't afford to do all that, you may want to just go ahead and do a Facebook fan page. You want some way to be able to interact with your customers. And another reason for that is because they'll Google you. They'll Google the Faith Church and see if this is the actual location. Okay, how long you've been in business. All that stuff they can see. So let's go into funding. With funding, what's important about starting that process is all those things that I just talked about, to be honest with you. You have to look like you're an entrepreneur, you gotta act like you're an entrepreneur, and you have to live in your purpose. So many of you wanna start different kinds of businesses. Anybody wanna volunteer what kind of business you want to start? Okay, we'll go all the way back. I'll start with you.
Non-emergency transit.
Transit?
Yeah, non-emergency transit.
Oh, non-emergency transit. So similar to like maybe local travel or people that need to go to the doctor's office.
People that need to go to the doctor's office, like to the point. I want to get to the point that if like somebody need to go to Florida, I can take them to Florida and have an operation. I would just want to be able to. I used to do it, but you know, I saw them running the wrong way. But you know, I would like to do that.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that that's still in your heart. You know, sometimes when we have to give up our dreams, we never go back to that. So I feel like that may be your purpose, to be able to get people from one location to the next safely. I love that. I'm proud of you for your thoughts. How about you? I know you said health and wellness. Health and fitness. Okay. Can I challenge you? How much can you bench press?
Right now?
Yeah.
Maybe like 70, 85.
Go ahead, girl. Good for you. That's awesome. And so, is there one now? And this, I ask these questions because what I would encourage you to do is maybe pick your one thing that y'all really want to focus on. And the reason why I say that is oftentimes as entrepreneurs, we have all these great visions of things that we want to do, and then we'll find ourselves starting a whole bunch of stuff and never finishing anything. And so by you choosing one thing, it will allow for you to focus your energy on that one project. And I promise you, by doing that, it's going to help you master that particular skill. You can have a whole bunch going on, but let's start with one and then you expand from there. So that's great. So what part, health or fitness?
Fitness, focusing on weight loss.
Awesome. And see, it's just girl talking about she don't like to talk and she don't like to get man, you're awesome. You're getting straight to the point. And that's important too. So I'm not going to go into business planning today, but what I would encourage you to do is think about your message that you want to share. Let it be as clear and concise as possible, 30 seconds or less. If you can get it down to 10 seconds or less, that is so important. You don't know who has money in their pocket waiting to give it to you. So if you can make your message as concise as possible, that will help you out a lot. An example, for my funding company, I do business funding with low qualifications and a quick turnaround so you can go about your business. Okay? So that's an example of something. For businesses, funding, low qualification, meaning the requirements to get my funding programs aren't very high. And lastly, the turnaround is quick so that you can keep using your money and do what you have to do. So that's the message that I'm putting out there for my funding program. But that's great. Young man back there, the one that's looking for a wife. I heard Pastor Glenn said you was looking for a wife. So what would you like to start?
Actually, I'm looking for two businesses. One is a clothing line called Vintage Wear.
Okay.
And the second one, the first one would be electrician. I want to have my own electrician business.
Awesome. And so will you have a specialty? Meaning, do you want to do commercial or residential electrical work?
Commercial and residential.
Okay. Now, have you considered just focusing on one and letting that be your niche?
Residential would be my focus. If I start out, my focus would be residential. Then with commercial.
Awesome. And then with your vintage line, is that the name Vintage? Vintage Wear. Who's your target market? Is it men, women, children?
Right now, I'm targeting men, women, and teenagers.
Okay. Why not children? You don't love the kids? I'm messing with you. That's beautiful. I'm glad to hear. And so what your clothing line, what does it focus on? Like, how do you want your customer to feel when they put your clothes on?
I want to feel confident.
Okay.
I want to feel closure.
Okay.
And I want to feel wherever he goes, he's going to be looked at.
All right. So you said super fly, almost like an eye magnet. Okay. I like that. That's cool. That's beautiful. grateful. So see how y'all are able to articulate your ideas. Now with a business plan, it's a little time consuming, but the same way that y'all were able to explain it to me, you would then have to create your whole plan for it through that business plan. So it's not hard to do. When you all get your templates, just take your time and go through the template, and any questions you have, I'll also, for you guys being so patient, I'll give y'all a 30-minute consultation. So y'all can call me on the phone and we can talk a little bit more about that, okay? And so once you move on from the business plan, when you're writing your business plan, you want to do it so at some point in time, somebody said, I got $1 million for you. And just give you a check and you run. No, I'm just kidding. No, but the whole purpose of you writing your business plan is so at some point in time, you will be able to get some kind of money for your actual business plan. So I don't encourage you to write your business plan, thank you, just to say that you are just doing it. If that makes sense, like do it with your whole heart, your whole mind, put your spirit and your energy into it. And the reason why I say that is how you think and how you feel about your product is how it's going to come out on paper. So if you don't think much of your product right now, he said confident, I want people to look at them everywhere you go. If you don't feel like that when you start writing your business plan, it's going to come off like that, and that's how your product and service is going to be to your customer. I always, anybody ever seen The Secret or read the book? Okay. 1, 2 people? 3? Okay. In the head? What was rubbing your head? Okay. He was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. All right. So The Secret, what's awesome about that, that's by Rhonda Byrne, and it's all these different people that's in it. It's all these great leaders. You got Les Brown and Lisa Nichols and the gentleman that writes the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. So when you watch The Secret talks about the law of attraction, but in the Bible, life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? So same thing with your thoughts, when you're writing it down, just know that's the only way you're going to be able to breathe life into your ideas and your thoughts. Yes, young lady.
Just that. I have a thought at the end of last school year, and I was like, wait, don't think you don't want that, because in the Secret it talks about if you focus on like that one thought, then more likely it's going to happen. It did happen. So yeah, make sure you don't focus on
Did not happen.
don't want to happen, and focus on like making sure that your thoughts are positive.
That's right. She said that as clear as it can be said. When you're thinking about something, let's say I hate traffic, I'm not going to talk about Joshua over there, but when I go to Atlanta, I say, God, I thank you so much for not putting me in kind of traffic. And I literally, when I go to Atlanta, I'm probably the only person that's never in traffic. Everybody I talk to, they tell me, oh my God, I was in traffic with this and that. I said, I've never experienced it in Atlanta. And the reason being is because I don't even put them kind of thoughts in my head, because I know I dislike sitting in traffic and bumper to bumper, because I come from a city where certain time of day, if you're traveling, that's all you're going to get. So since I moved down here, I'm just grateful I've never experienced it, because I didn't put it out in the atmosphere. And so even with your ideas and thoughts, when you're thinking about something, if you want it to happen, that's all you need to focus on. If you do the exact opposite, don't let any piece of doubt get inside your head, because once it does, your idea is good as gone. I promise you that. I'm going to give y'all an example. Yesterday, I had to go to Atlanta. I've been driving back and forth to Atlanta. I need to just get a house there. Had to go to Atlanta to see John Hope Bryant. Anybody know who he is? Okay, a few of y'all. So John Hope Bryant was at the Atlanta Black Chamber of Commerce as a guest speaker yesterday. And what I appreciated the most about hearing him is his transparency. Like, he was just so like, listen, this is my situation. This is where I'm at right now. But he never talked about it in a negative way, meaning most people say, man, I had a hard time growing up. I had this going on, that going on. He even spoke positive about how his dad was not really financially literate. My concern was, for me yesterday, I had missed my alarm clock. I just jumped up and I just kept going. I said, I'm going to make it up there. Even I got up there by 10:07, come to find out the event didn't start till 11. But here's the thing. I was so worried that I was going to be late that God still blessed me and I was extra early. So I got a chance to sit down and network and talk to people. But if I kept that mindset, I said, I don't care, I'm already late, let me just keep going. If I had that mindset, I probably would have found out when I got there that I was the last person in the room, you know? And so just encourage yourself when you're thinking about your thoughts. See yourself wherever you want to be. So I hear this terminology, you shoot for the stars and you land on the moon. That's how you should think of your vision. Don't ever think so small to where like, oh man, I don't know if I can do that. Self-doubt will ruin your life. And I know a lot of y'all know that because that is oftentimes why church people lose hope. And so moving forward from the business plan, funding, let's talk about that. So anybody who has a business already, have y'all, just raise your hand. You don't have to actually answer as a rhetorical kind of question. Have y'all ever tried to apply for funding, like try to get money for your business? Anybody has nonprofits, have y'all ever tried to get grants for your nonprofit? Okay, not much different. And so the difference is, you know, 501c3 status versus not 501c3 status. And so when you're looking at funding, you want to look at it from a perspective of, one, how much do I need? Two, will I be able to fulfill my goals once I get the money? And then three, how am I going to use that money effectively so that I can carry out what's in my business plan? So oftentimes I meet a lot of people, and the reason why I say business plan is not important is because even if you write it once, if you're really doing good in business, you'll change it over and over and over again. And so the reality of it is you don't really need a business plan. If you got an idea, it's as good as just writing it down on paper. Like literally, I want to open a church in Sparta next week. You know, like literally. And I know I'm making it sound so simplified, but it really is, guys. Like, people overthink things. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be on Shark Tank, then yeah, you probably should think it out a little bit more than that. But for the most part, to get yourself up and running, especially with the way that the economy is turning and how Trump is going to like really tax people who have jobs, you really need to just come up. What do you like to do? Do you like to do DIY? You know, I love putting some glitter or some stones on something. I got all kinds of stuff in the house I experiment with. So that's my little hobby. But if I wanted to, I could sell that kind of stuff. So think about, you know, gardening. Maybe you want to do some YouTube videos where you teach people how to garden. I don't know. You can come up with just about anything. If you have a passion for it, just write it down. This is what I'm going to do. If you can afford to get it registered and use those other steps that I said earlier, just go for it. Because Trump is going to kill 9 to 5 people. Like when I tell you as far as like how much he's going to tax